Hi, everybody. Welcome to Cox Connections. Brad Grundmeyer, Director of Public and Government Affairs for Cox, Louisiana. Thank you so much for tuning into our show. Today on our show, we're more so truly excited to have the Superintendent of the Recovery School District in New Orleans, John White, who's been gracious enough to come on our show. He's got a huge challenge and has done fantastic in his short tenure in his capacity as superintendent, overseeing 67 schools that are a part of the Recovery School District. And John, great to have you here, buddy. Welcome.
Brad, thanks so much for having me.
And since having you on the show for the first time, I'm going to say welcome to New Orleans. How has been your experience in New Orleans? I mean, well, first off, what lured you to come to New Orleans? What was interesting about it? I'm sure it was the challenge.
Well, it's a cool place.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
You can't knock that. I think, though, you're right. It was for me. It was all about work, and it was about work with kids. And this is a place where the kids badly need the efforts of educators to help them. And I think probably it's fair to say that many of them have been underserved for a long time. But I think what's so amazing about Louisiana and about New Orleans is the people here want change.
Yes.
And the people here are saying, we will do what it takes, provided that it's in the interest of children. And just honestly, I don't think that is entirely the tone everywhere.
Right.
And this is a place that's trying to get it done.
What was your impressions from afar? Was New Orleans something in your other capacity? Were you and I hear and see that many are looking at New Orleans as this, I guess this grand experiment, a petri dish of experimentation. And what was your impressions from afar when you? Was it same for you that you were looking at what was going on in New Orleans with great interest?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I'm sure many educators are just fascinated with what's taking place.
It is fascinating, and it's fascinating because public education for too long hasn't served a large number of the kids, and it's a particularly disadvantaged kids.
Right.
And so for us, and I was in New York City at the time, the question really was, how can what do we need to do different to make this work for kids? And when we looked around the country, we saw a lot of people basically, frankly, coming back year after year, doing the same old thing. And then you look at New Orleans, and you look at what's going on, and you see, wow, they've got choice. Parents have choice of their schools across the system. Schools are independent of the bureaucracy. They're running their own businesses to figure out their own innovative ways to educate kids. And most important, they're seeing extraordinary results. Right. And so we were, our question in New York when I was there was, how can we try to bottle that and make that happen in New York City?
Yeah. And I hate to say Katrina had a silver lining, but in many ways, to turn around and to make that kind of a change really in such a short period of time is really quite a remarkable task and an accomplishment. But we shouldn't be complacent on that. We need to continue to push, and I'm sure there are many challenges still ahead, correct?
The challenges are significant. Before the storm, 23% of the kids in our district were performing at grade level, reading at grade level, doing math at grade level, 23%. And you're talking about kids in the elementary school level. Well, we've doubled that since then. We've more than doubled that, so that now half of the kids in our schools are performing at grade level. But still, that's only half.
Right.
Grade level is grade level for a reason. You want every kid to be performing at that grade level. So we've got a long way to go in spite of making more progress than anyone.
Well, one of the things I think with the 67 schools, and before we start, give me a little snapshot of those 67 schools and the uniqueness of each so our viewing audience can understand a little bit about the uniqueness of each and how different they are.
Yeah, well, I think they are as unique as the educators who are starting and running them.
Well said.
And the thing about education is it's got to be about empowerment. Yeah. Empowerment is a precondition of success. Right. You need to be empowered. The teachers need to be empowered. The parents need to be empowered. The principals need to be empowered. This can't just be a central office says you do this, you do this, you do this kind of thing.
That doesn't seem to be working not just here but nationwide.
I don't think it's working. Yeah. I don't think it's working for disadvantaged youth in this country.
Too top heavy.
So the question here is for the people, can we give the power to the people who are closest to the kids?
Yes.
Can we give the money and the resources, not to the bureaucracy, but to the people who are closest to the kids? You know that our district is sending 98 cents on the dollar directly to the schools. And that's not just me and my team, that's by law. We're sending 98 cents on the dollar directly to the schools. That's an empowerment model. Yep. And so what makes the model here so unique is that it's not bureaucrats running the schools, it's us saying, we're gonna give you 98 cents on the dollar, we're going to give you the power to determine the educational program in your school. We're going to give parents the power to choose which school they want to go to. You can live uptown, send your kid to a school in the Ninth Ward,
right,
and the reverse. That's a powerful model. The one thing is, though, it's got to be all rooted in accountability. If you can't make academic gains with kids, then you shouldn't be in the business.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I think is most encouraging is that parents are engaging. They're stepping up on board levels, and they're stepping up to do more involved at the school because they know it's an opportunity, and they're not just going to sit by and let school board members or the administration take. They really want to get engaged, and that's what we always have asked for parents to. It's not just send them and you take care of educating and then send them to us. It's a process, and we're all a part. And the whole issue of makes a better village, to raise a child, and to that point, New Orleans I think is doing well in that.
No one
But
cares.
still much to do.
No one cares more about the welfare of kids than the parents, and that's why the determination as to where a kid goes to school, what type of school a child goes to, that really has to be first and foremost about the parents. Can't be somebody at central office making that determination. Now, I would say this, Brad, it is important that we make sure that every child gets the ability to choose a great school. And sometimes, parents are traveling, parents have challenges, parents sometimes have challenges at home, and sometimes that means that maybe that kid didn't get to drop off an application at the school. We've got to make sure that we have an equal access enrollment system. And so one of our next steps is going to be we're going to build an enrollment system for every single child so that there's one application. It can be dropped off in multiple locations, but we want to make it so that kids and parents don't have to go from school to school to school to school dropping off applications. So I think it's so important that your viewers understand that we are moving toward a central enrollment system. We're going to be announcing this more formally in December, and we're going to really want parents to say, which school should I choose?
Yep.
But knowing I've only got to drop off one application. Right. I'm going to say this is my number one choice, my number two choice,
Absolutely.
number three choice. Every parent in this city who has a kid who's going into kindergarten, who has a kid who's entering high school, should be ready to choose a school. We've got to make choosing a school an annual rite of passage in
Absolutely.
New Orleans.
That's fantastic, and I'm sure that'll be much appreciated. It seems fair, and I think that's the right thing to do. How we, and you talked a little bit about it, but I think it's good to go back in regards to the 100-day strategy, outcomes and results.
Well, the outcomes in New Orleans are fantastic, and we need more fantastic. As I said before, we've doubled the number of students who are reading and doing math at grade level. The Recovery School District is the fastest growing student achievement district in the state of Louisiana, which is fantastic. And I give credit to my colleagues at the Orleans Parish School Board. Their schools are doing fantastically well as well. New Orleans has a shot to be the best public school system in Louisiana. It is on that track, and we've got to keep the progress going. So the outcomes are fantastic. The thing is, as I said, we've got to keep it going. Yes. That means continuing to make hard decisions. It means continuing to give parents even better choices than the ones they've got today.
Good stuff. Facilities, the master plan, a lot of that is taking place currently and seems to be an ongoing project.
Yeah, I mean, buildings doesn't get you all the way to a child graduating from high school, but it's an important point.
Absolutely.
And the storm did a lot of damage to a lot of the buildings here. We had a lot of buildings that were in disrepair before the storm. And so we're making a record investment actually to make sure that every single child in New Orleans attends a new school building, brand new or renovated. And that's extraordinary. There's no city in America, literally none, that can say that every single child is going to be able to attend a new school building or a renovated school building, and we're going to do that by 2016. This is not some 25-year pipe dream. This is by 2016, every single child in public school.
Never in my life would I ever thought that would be the case, and it's
incredible,
it's a beautiful thing. High school reform, another big issue.
Yeah. Well, by the time a kid becomes 14, that child's going to have different interests. That student's going to want to study this, going to want to study that. Sometimes students are well ahead. Sometimes students are behind. And we have schools for kids who are ahead. We do have schools for kids who are interested in college. Where I think we're missing is we don't have a lot to offer right now. A child who is, for whatever reason, behind, say maybe even 2 years behind, can still graduate, got to keep that spark alive to graduate from high school, but is behind. And number two, what if a child is interested in career and wants a choice between attaining a professional career and going to college, or maybe doing both? And we've got to build a set of schools that can serve kids who are overaged, and we've got to build a set of schools that can service kids in careers. There are growth industries in Louisiana and in the New Orleans metropolitan area. Film and digital media, to say one that's very appropriate for our discussion today. Construction and engineering. Biomedical, all these are growth industries, culinary and hospitality. We can help industry, and industry can help our kids by having schools that particularly train kids for careers. And we're going to announce a set of schools that are going to do that in December.
Amazing. Well, and I hats off to you for the whole strategy, because, you know, to have, you know, the input of the community, to have the, you know, whether it was the educators, the parents, community members, the students, props, because for your willingness to absorb the data, to ask for feedback, to encourage that. Unprecedented, I would say, in many ways. How has that experience been, having people serving on these task force to give you the information on those areas in regards to making a difference in the plan? Because that must have been a great process.
Yeah, it was. I mean, especially coming in somebody new to the city,
right,
you know, to get to learn from the people of the city. Yep. No matter what I was here to do, that was a great way to enter the city. But nothing that I just said, launching a student enrollment system citywide in December, career schools, addressing the needs of kids who are overage. None of that's my idea.
Yeah.
That's all from people who said to me, look, John, this is common sense, and let's get it done. You know, people agree that there's been progress, but people also agree there's a lot of room for improvement. And if we take these things on step by step, we will make improvement. We will build the best school system in the state here in New Orleans. But we got to take it on. And folks were real with me, and they said, these are the challenges, and let's get it done. And that's why we're making these changes.
Well, John, as I said, it's great to have you here in New Orleans. We're just thrilled for what you're doing as superintendent of the Recovery School District. I know here at Cox, we're proud to offer you to come on this program, you know, on a quarterly basis or whenever it's opportune, to let those, not just in Orleans, but in Jefferson and St. Bernard and St. Charles, hear about the great work that the RSD is, because so many eyes are focused on this, and of course want so much for you to have success, and it seems like that's the case. And we're also, as you know, our friends at Cox Media are partnering with you in a PSA series that's going to come out again, a way that we can show cross-channel a lot of the information that you need to get out for the RSD. So we're just proud as a company to partner with you, but we're proud as a community to have you in your capacity, and we just really wish you, you know, everyone's behind you. And it's just a fantastic day in New Orleans, but we just can't be complacent. We need to kind of keep pushing that football down the field.
Absolutely, and I'm proud to be a part of this community. Most of all, I'm proud of our parents, I'm proud of our educators, absolutely. And more than anyone, I'm proud of our kids. When you spend time in our schools, and I was just in a school in Holly Grove today, when you spend time in schools and you see the work that our kids are doing, because our kids in New Orleans don't go to school from 8 o'clock, 8:30 to 3 o'clock.
Absolutely.
Our kids go to school morning, day, and evening. Our kids are getting after it. And when you look in their faces and you see what they're accomplishing, you can't help but be fired up about coming to work. I'll say one last plug, and that is student enrollment system. We have got to get every parent who's going to have a kindergartner next year, or a high school freshman, a 9th grader next year, has got to get involved in enrolling their kid. Absolutely. That's going to start in December. We're going to announce it. We're going to run it through the spring. Every parent's got to enroll their child into school next year in our system. I'm very fired up. Brad, thanks for having me.
You give them 6-7 months to get it done, so that's even better.
There's enough time.
There's information we want to give everybody a lower third. We can tell you about how, if you're looking to go learn more about the RSD, you can go to their website, which is www.rsdla.net, or learn all about the RSD's 100days.com. That's a great way to do so. And also you can call them at 504-373-6200 or toll free at 877-343-4773. John, God bless you. All the best to you, my friend, and continued success. Great to have you here. All right, everybody, that wraps it up for this segment. Again, to have Superintendent John White with us. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.